There are always winners and losers of every NBA draft period. On today's episode, me and Bobby are going to break down the teams that we thought won and or lost or just overall did the best in the NBA draft. We're also going to look at some of the contract extensions already signed before free agency officially opens on the 30th. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central. Bobby, the NBA draft, man, takes a lot out of us, especially when we're live during the NBA draft, but it's a labor of love. How you feeling coming out the draft, bro? What teams do you think off the top of your head did best? We're going to jump right into it, man.
Right off the top, bro, I got to go with the Utah Jazz.
Utah
Jazz, the mans went out there and they got themselves Cody Williams. They got Isaiah Collier, and in the second round, I believe they got themselves a steal in Kyle Filipowski. Me personally, I didn't see him sliding that much, but he did slide, and the Utah Jazz picked him up. My second team that comes right off the top, Haize, is gonna be the Minnesota Timberwolves. Bro, they have everything. Like, they got the bigs, you got the star, you got the defensive wings. They just needed more shot creators. And then they went out there and they traded with the San Antonio Spurs to get Rod Dillingham, who's a explosive guard who knows what he can turn out to be. And then you go get a guy that can create his own shot in Terrence Shannon Jr. That fell into your lap to where you can not, to I believe those two moves improve the team. You know, obviously they're gonna come in rookies, they're gonna have to learn the NBA game and all that stuff. But the upside when it comes to those two players for the Minnesota Timberwolves per se, they should be in good hands if they really and truly believe in their coaching developmental staff. You know what I'm saying? To get these two guys to be at their highest potential, because Dillingham can absolutely take over for Mike Conley once he starts to phase out of the organization for sure. And Terrence Shannon Jr., we know what he was able to do in college over there with Illinois. Now, and I believe he got that dog mentality right up there with Edwards. So you just adding on to that firepower, I believe. In a year or two, we will see like what these guys can really be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both your choices there. I have the Minnesota Timberwolves above the Utah Jazz, but the Jazz did great as well. What the Timberwolves did in this draft is they literally went out there and got everything that they needed. You like you said, you got somebody who can be the heir apparent to Mike Conley as he's getting a little long in the tooth there in Minnesota. But you see how much he does help and improve that Minnesota Timberwolves team when he's on the court. And so now that you have a natural transition, hopefully, of power there with your new point guard, it makes sense. He's coming in with not a lot of, well, there's expectation because the Minnesota Timberwolves are a team that's trying to compete for a title next season. But as far as their personal expectations, you get to come in, learn behind Mike Conley, who's a point guard who's been in this league for a long time. You're scoring. You don't have to rely on that heavily because they got scores all up and down that roster. And he gets to kind of naturally just progress over time. Exactly. And then they got Terrence Shannon Jr., one of the most NBA-ready players right now. Fact. I know he's going to be 24 before the season starts, but he's somebody who can score at every level. He showed a lot of growth in the three-point shooting last season in Illinois. And the fact that the Timberwolves were able to add all this, man, they did amazingly in this draft, bro.
I agree with you. Those guys, they went out and attacked and really got some players that can help them. So hopefully it just, it's always come down to the players and the coach, and there has to be a good working relationship to see these players reach their highest potential for sure.
But with talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, we got to talk about the San Antonio Spurs. And the reason why I want to talk about the Spurs in this draft, they had an opportunity to pair a young point guard with Wemby, which is the thing that they need down there. And they traded out of that. Now, they got great value. You got a protected pick and an unprotected pick. You got multiple picks back. But, like, to walk away from this draft without the point guard to pair with Wemby just seems like not the best use of assets there. How do you feel about that, bro?
I'm with you on that, and that's why they was gonna be one of my losers. I feel like right now with the progress you've seen Wemby make, I understand you're not going to go to the Western Conference Finals next season, but you need to start getting a lot of players up in here to where you can start saying, hey, who fits with Wemby, who doesn't. And I think you need to take as many bites at the apple as possible. Now, when we talk about the trade that they made, these guys made a trade and you're not going to receive a return until 6 years from now. So I don't think that's really helping Wemby right now. We already know that San Antonio is not a huge free agency destination. So you really need to be bringing in these young players and you know what I'm saying, developing them and wanting to see them progress with Wemby. Right now, I feel like I didn't, because I feel like Dillingham could have been a good addition to it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or maybe somebody else if you
Could have went
hold
like
on to the
Devin
pick.
Carter, or for example, or something like
Exactly.
that.
I believe Devin Carter is a well-rounded point guard or a guard, who can play on and off the ball, who you could have absolutely utilized in certain situations, depending on what you wanted to do. I understand that the draft in the castle, but you need as many players to come through this organization as possible right now to find those right players.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and don't get me wrong, Castle's a great talent. I do like Castle. I don't want to make it seem like they did horrible in this draft because they still walk away with getting some talent. They got Castle, Juan Nunez, and Harrison Ingram. Solid
Yeah.
picks for them. But I just felt like they had an opportunity to really get that point guard that needs to go next to Wemby, and they passed up on it. Maybe in their workouts they didn't believe in it enough. They of course would have more data than what we have, but it just definitely feels like you could have done better at a position of need for yourself than what you did in this one, unless they feel confident that they're going to get that point guard out in free agency, and we just don't see it yet.
Yeah, because we already saying with the San Antonio Spurs, they don't really believe in Trey Jones, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
The Jones, the young Jones brother, they haven't shown that they believe in him. So you should be attacking this position unless you really, really strongly believe that Castle is going to be that lead guard for you. I understand he has the size, he has a lot of things you can work with, but is he capable of being that starting point guard for them? And what they want to do, we shall see.
And the fact of Cody Williams, Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski for the Utah Jazz, I want to highlight this, that at one point in the mock drafts of this offseason, all three of those guys went in the top 15.
Yes.
And so you walked away with players that at one point all three were slated to go in the top 15. You get a dub in that. Isaiah Collier is a pit bull, bro. I get it, his size and things, and you worry about what he's going to be defensively at the next level and things like that. But like, sometimes you just got to look at a basketball player and just watch them play the game. Don't worry about the stats, the measurables. Isaiah Collier is a pit bull, and he's a player I would absolutely love to have on my team. You get the growth aspect of Cody Williams, who projects to be like a 3-and-D player, hasn't really shown the three enough there, but you project to get that. And then you get Kyle Filipowski in the second round.
It's crazy.
That, bro, like, I get it. At some point, we got to break down all the weirdness around Kyle Filipowski, bro, because that is one of the weirdest situations, bro. The fact that your girlfriend, the teams were so weirded out in interviews that your girlfriend kept you from being a first round pick is crazy, bro. That's wild, bro.
How does that have anything, bro?
Imagine, like, I joked. I think I was talking to Steve. I was like, she must have been sitting in the back of the room in those interviews, like that Ike Turner gift, just like.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Because I'm like, bro, the man, look, he got his flaws just like every other person in this draft. You know what I'm saying? That was no for sure thing. And I'm like, bro, his production and the film looks all right. Like, what are we doing? But y'all let him fall over there to the Utah Jazz. So shout out to him, because I believe they trying to figure it out over there in Utah. Hopefully they could, but they in the tough
Jazz,
Western Conference.
We got to talk about the Jazz at some point, because they have done such a good job once they decided to go rebuild. They decided to trade Donovan Mitchell. They decided to trade Rudy Gobert, send both of them off, get all the picks. They got lucky with Lauri Markkanen coming in, developing things like that. And they just keep, I don't want to call it luck, because if it keeps happening, it's by design. At some point, you can't call it luck, but they seem like they got a nice jump start on it. Now we got to see how it all comes together. Like you said, in that Western Conference, you can be a good team and still be in the play-in and not even and miss the play-in in that Western Conference. So we got to see how it's going to develop, but they did really good. But Bobby, I got a surprise winner on here. And I don't know how you're going to feel about it. We haven't really talked about the draft other than when we were live doing it. I think the Washington Wizards did really good in this draft, bro.
Washington?
I think Alexander Sarr, Keyshawn George. I love both those picks. Bub Carrington, I'm kind of don't really feel away on that one, but Keyshawn George and Alexander Sarr, really good picks for a team that just needs talent.
Agreed. I would say it's not a bad draft, man. I think that for me, the way I look at it, bro, and I know that when we come into these drafts, if it's the way I look at the draft in NFL, NHL, sometimes you have your for sure things.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times you got projects or what ifs, or this guy has crazy upside. So that's why, like, when you're going into these rebuilding years as a franchise, I believe you need to be drafting.
Yeah,
Like, if you want to be better, you gotta draft, because some guy that averaged 20 in college can come to NBA and give you 8.
that's a
That's
fact.
it. That's
That's a
you
fact.
know what I'm saying? And they might not be that winning player or that impactful player. So I will show a little love to the Washington Wizards. Me personally, I just want to continue to see them build this thing out. I was one of those guys who, going into this past season, like, man, they got some nice pieces to work with. Jordan Poole, you got the Jones, you got Kyle Kuzma. You know what I'm saying? Those were 3 nice young players. You know, they all have their flaws and their issues, but I still thought that was a nice starting point for the organization. So for them to continuously add on that, I just got to give them kudos for that. You got to keep, you know what I'm saying, taking the bites out the apple to make your team better. So
That's a
I can't
fact.
be mad at that.
That's a fact. Now we talked about the Spurs, but what other teams you think didn't do good in this draft, brother?
Didn't do well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about I ain't gonna lie. When I seen it, I would, like, we kind of talked about it on the live. Zach Edey to Memphis. I get it. As is, you trying to look for somebody to play the 5 while Jaren Jackson be more comfortable at the 4. But I just don't know if that's what you necessarily need, because Zach Edey, I don't think he's a bad player. You know, that he has his flaws, but I do think that the way that he plays it might be a little bit of friction there with him and Jaren Jackson and what they want to do. So I thought they would go for a guy that was a little bit more versatile. You know what I'm saying? A guy that could probably add some spacing, but you know what I'm saying? Because Jai added much space with his 3-point shooting. So right now it seeming like it's just a big old cluster in the paint and everybody trying to fight for positioning. So that was a move I really didn't understand. Like, and I feel like it was kind of a reach for them.
It did feel like a reach. I get, like, if it, and like we said on the live, is that if any team is prepared to play with the center like a Zach Edey, I think Memphis is equipped to do that. I don't think you could run all of his minutes out there with him and JJ together. You're gonna have to stagger their minutes some. And I think it's gonna be who they find to be the backup center is gonna be important in that, because they're gonna have to play a lot of minutes. And I like it overall for Memphis. I'm not saying that I love it for them, and I still think Zach Edey could be out the NBA in 3 to 4 years. But
hey, anything's possible.
I mean, Steven Adams is even more athletic than Zach Edey, but they played with a center who isn't necessarily the fastest, isn't the most athletic, and so maybe because of that, they felt confident in that pick, is what I'll say.
Yeah, and I was wondering what the hell the Knicks were doing too. Like, I understand that you want to add on to more guard play, but you have questions in regards to Isaiah Hartenstein. Why are you not looking at centers? You
Adam
know
Bona would have
Mitchell
been a
Robinson
perfect pick for them.
is a hurt guy. Like, he's been hurt forever.
He gets hurt when he sneezes.
Exactly. So with the Knicks going out and getting 2 guards, I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess. I don't know. That was just another, and they had back-to-back picks. So I'm like, okay, if you draft 1 guard, cool. But then where's your center help? So hopefully it works out for them, because they starting 5 nice though. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, I'll listen. And the Knicks is still probably riding that high of trading for Mikal Bridges. They probably didn't give a shit. I don't know. I'll say this. I like the players that they got. I just don't know how they're going to work out. They got all the wings and guards, bro. Like all the wings and guards, bro. So, like, they're definitely playing small. Maybe the Knicks are going to try to play real fast, which I wouldn't expect from a Tom Thibodeau team. But
right?
Maybe that's the case. So,
that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see there. Team that I want to point out here that I think did really good, even though that the player may not play, there's some doubt of if they're going to play the full season. I think the OKC Thunder did really good with getting Nikola Topic.
I think that was a good pickup too.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that was a good pickup. And we got breaking news, brother.
What happened?
Atlanta is trading Dejounte Murray to the Pelicans.
For who?
It's just dropping. He ain't giving whole details yet, but that's the breaking news. I'm shocked.
Wow.
That's great for Zion.
That is great for Zion. Well, who could they be possibly? Probably Ingram.
Oh, that's interesting.
I would think that it would have to be Ingram.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then they did go out. The Pelicans did go out and draft big man Eve Missy,
Yeah.
athletic big who can give you everything. Put back dunks and be athletic, be good defensively. So
Listen, I love that pick for Pelicans for a couple of real that trade. So now you can move CJ McCollum naturally back to the 2.
yes, that
Dejounte
worked.
Murray's going to be your 1 there. They both can shoot the 3, right?
Hmm.
We know that CJ McCollum can play off ball, so you're not really worried about running into the same thing that you ran into with Trae Young. And that's why I think it has to be, because Brandon Ingram's been playing most of his minutes at shooting guard for them. So that kind of makes the most sense if you can move McCollum back to the 2. You're sending out Ingram. Your 3's probably going to still be Herb Jones, right?
And then they probably banking on Trey Murphy at some point, right?
Yeah, Trey
Or at
Murphy,
least
Zion,
get
and
Missy. I
yeah,
don't know if they start him
Eve
as a
Missy.
rookie. I mean, they
Yeah,
still
I
got
don't think they probably
Valanciunas.
start him, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I
interesting. So does this mean Trey ain't going nowhere now?
They got to Trace. They listen, and the thing is, like getting Risha Share, because that's who because we got to think about Risha Share
Yep.
in this as well. So
Mm-hmm.
like getting Risha Share is another athletic person who does like to play fast. Trae Young can push that pace. He can pass pretty well defensively. He's barbecue chicken, but that's crazy. That's crazy.
You should see this trade
Oh, you got the details?
for Larry Nance and 2 first-round picks. Are you what? 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 Atlanta, what are you doing?
The Pelicans just fleeced the hell out of the Atlanta Hawks for Larry Nance and 2 first-round picks.
That's wild, bro. That's wild, bro.
What is going on? That's crazy.
Hey, y'all know I'm a Bulls fan. I ain't upset like that, no more. That's crazy.
Didn't they give up 4 first-round picks for Dejounte Murray?
I believe so. They gave up way more than they just got back. That is nuts.
That's crazy. Hey, bro, this offseason is going to be wild, bro.
Ain't it?
This is about to be a wild offseason. That's crazy. No, so they got to still be looking to move Brandon Ingram in another deal then, bro. Like,
yeah.
Because this is such a log jam there for that roster now if you're not making a move on Brandon Ingram.
That's a fact.
Hey, man, listen, this is the first time news has ever broken when we've been recording, bro. That's crazy.
It's buzzing. It's crazy.
That's crazy. Hey, shout out to them, bro. That's
Facts.
wild. All right, I don't even remember what point I was making. Now it don't even matter.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's probably the best trade so far. We did want to talk about we did want to talk about contract extensions that was given out so far. So we got a couple. We got like Nick Claxton getting over $100 million. I think that's a solid deal. We got OG Anunoby getting his contract extension with the New York Knicks as well. When you look at these contract extensions that have come down so far, Bobby, how do you feel about them? Like teams are handing out a lot. And are we starting to get to the place where the $100 million deal is just the norm? Because I still remember when the first $100 million deal was signed in the NBA, and that was like crazy. It was on the front page of everything. Now you're getting your role players and slightly above are going to be getting $100 to $122 million contracts consistently.
This shit is getting ridiculous. Not just in the NBA and the NFL too. We like it. Yeah. We like his quarterbacks getting paid more than Patrick Mahomes. His guards. Look, and I'm not saying this guard didn't deserve his money, but $35 million perfectly, man. You will quickly. You don't even know if he's able to be a capable, good all-star caliber point guard. That's crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least make a guy do it on a prove it deal. And y'all already giving these guys, you know what I'm saying, guaranteed money, but over $100 million for Emmanuel Quickly.
5 years, $175 million.
Exactly. So it was a bit questionable for me. Yeah. OG, I believe he's seeing like over $200 million or something like that. To me, that was a bit of a stretch. Yeah, I think right now these contract extensions going around in different sports world is just it's going rampant, and I don't think necessarily the production is matching the money per se. Mm-hmm. But hey, when you want to go ahead and keep on putting out fancy numbers, do your thing. I can't be mad at him because if I'm in the same position,
you offer it to me, I'm taking it. Yeah,
you feel me?
And I think the thing that we gotta have to start realizing or communicating the signings to is we got to start talking about what percentage of the cap it is, because like
That's
the
a
cap
fact.
has risen so much. So now,
That's a
like
fact.
for example, like your $14 million contract is slightly above 10% of the cap. So like when players are signing these huge deals, it's like, all right, yeah, but it's not at like a $10 million deal now is basically almost what a $6.5 million deal was 5 years ago. That's how much the cap has increased. So, you know,
Facts.
shout out to the guys getting more money. It's great to see the growth of the game, the growth of the NBA is getting to that point. But like we're about to really start seeing like the 250, $300 million deals of what your stars getting paid now. That's gonna be crazy, bro.
It is gonna be crazy, man. I think that's just what it's coming to right now. Regardless if you think a player is matched up to it, these owners in whatever league, they've shown that they're gonna go and pay a guy based on what their belief is that they can bring. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you pay a guy a little bit more earlier, you know what I'm saying, just for the sake of, hey, if I pay him now and sign him for 5 years, 2 years down the line, if I was to give him a prove it deal, it'll probably cost me more. So why not just pay this guy now? Make sure he's
Yeah.
locked in, and then we could probably, have him at a great value for X amount of years before we have to pay him again. So it's kind of like a good strategic thing when you talk about it and understand it, but it's still crazy at the same time that some of these guys is getting this type of money. But to your point, you got to talk about what percentage of the cap space is taken up for a team, and that makes 100% sense. I can't argue with that.
Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting free agency. We'll be covering it all here at NBA Central because hey, listen, apparently we need to be on alert. It's gonna be crazy, bro.
That
It's
shit
gonna
is
be crazy
nuts.
off season, man. We gotta see what else is gonna come. Any last thoughts or anything, Bobby, before we get up out of here?
Hey, just a special shout out to the squad, man. It's always a pleasure getting on with my brothers. Make sure y'all tune in, hit the like button, subscribe. I know y'all want to talk this NBA stuff, so make sure y'all tune in the comment box. Let's go ahead and chop it up, keep going, and do y'all thing. Let's go.
Absolutely, man. Y'all make sure y'all follow us. We're trying to grow. We're gonna be back to posting more consistently here on this channel as well. Got some things to announce, which I'll announce later on. Bobby and the team already know about it, but we're gonna start being a lot more consistent around
Let
here
go.
because we gotta take care of home first, man. We got something that we need
Yes,
to grow
sir.
that's very special here. And we're gonna rework some things. But you can follow us at NBA Central pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related. And we'll see you guys at this rate probably tomorrow. We'll see you guys tomorrow, y'all. Peace.
Facts.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.